The whole world, if you just look at it the right way, there's a pink haze floating around everything. Things are just beautiful. Everything is good. Everything is bright and wonderful. It's all rainbows and sunshine and love. Nothing could go wrong. Nothing's wrong with anything that looks so perfect. Sight. And that's what rose-colored glasses will have you thinking. You have to take them off.
Hey, listen!
Today we're going to talk about limerence. In this video, I'm going to go over what limerence is, how it may present, the components of limerence. I'm going to get real vulnerable and tell you a few times how limerence has shown up in my life. And then last but absolutely not least, actually the furthest thing from least, it's the best thing, I'm going to give you the root reasons this happens. The 3 root causes of limerence, where it's coming from, and what do we know about what you can do when you know the root cause of something. You can fix it. Okay? I'm going to tell you how to fix it too. So, if limerence is something that you experience, I'm going to be willing to bet that you would like for it to not be the case any longer. So, this is so key. You're going to love it. So, let's get into it. Something that happens to a lot of us when we're pursuing relationships and dating gets us into a bit of a pickle. A love pickle. That is a thing. Okay? Limerence is the rose-colored glasses of relationships. That very dangerous emotion that feels a lot like love, but intensified. And seemingly for very unwarranted reasons. This does happen to a few of the attachment styles, particularly the ones that lean more towards anxious. So today I'm going to be discussing how it occurs with the fearful avoidant. This also will very easily apply right over to the anxious preoccupied as well. There's maybe like slight differences, but pretty much is kind of similar for both because it is an anxious behavior overall. Limerence is something that I've been studying. They just keep coming up with terms to define the embarrassing things that I do in relationships that I was in the dark about. And I'm just going to say it. It's kind of rude. I'm going to put it out there. That's how I feel. It's kind of rude to do that. Is it necessary to do that? Yes. But it doesn't make it less rude, okay? Limerence is definitely something that I have engaged in and thought absolutely were true, warranted feelings from my heart. They must just have been love or fate, or there's something in the stars. There's something about this person, a sign from the universe. Because why else would I feel this way? And so the people who define limerence gave me a very plausible explanation for exactly why I would feel this way. They have defined it. So they have given me that uncomfortable answer. And I'm here to help you learn about it too. Because as uncomfortable as it is, if you ever want to grow and learn and become securely attached in your relationships, you have to face these things. You have to be authentically ready to look at yourself in the mirror without the rose-colored glasses on. You gotta take them off. Okay, you gotta just open up and say, this is what I need to see. Show me. And it will. It will show you many things. And limerence is one that it showed me. Let me paint the picture here. Have you ever met someone and it seems like within a very short amount of time, a pretty unreasonable amount of time, you're feeling very strong emotions for them? You might call it an instant connection. You might say, I'm so drawn to them. We have chemistry. We have something so powerful. I feel like I love them at first sight. Things like that. You might say things like, maybe we've met in another life. We had to have met before this because I feel like I've known them my whole life. They're my soulmate. And you maybe met this person that same night. Even if you've had maybe a month-long relationship that then suddenly fizzled out when you weren't expecting that. And you feel this strong sense of grief over that. And you feel really upset about it. In your logical mind, you're like, there's no reason I should be this upset about this person. I barely knew them. I was barely with them. Why am I so upset about this? If you've dated someone for a few dates and then maybe they ghosted you and you're just nearly distraught over it. And it's embarrassing because you're like, I shouldn't feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. But I feel like my heart is broken. But I barely even knew this person. You get so enamored with someone so quickly to the point that you feel like you even maybe love them. If you've ever had a whirlwind relationship where very quickly you're saying I love you to each other, you're making it official. And unless you were of the very lucky few, probably now those have fizzled out because they tend to plummet just as quickly as they came to be. And so it's probably a little bit in the back of your mind, like, how can I be feeling this strongly so quickly? Some maybe you've even had a crush on someone, maybe someone on television, maybe an actor in a movie, maybe someone that you see on Instagram, maybe a creator. You don't actually know them in person, but you watch their content or you watch them in interviews and things like that. And you might feel like, I feel connected to this person. I feel like we're meant to be. Maybe you're watching them routinely and you almost feel after a while, when you've absorbed so much of their content, you've seen them so many times. They may have never seen you. They may not even know you exist, but you're feeling this strong connection to them, even to the point that maybe you feel like you want to reach out to them and say like,
I have to let them know about this because this is the universe talking to me. I feel like I'm in love with this person. I'm supposed to be with them.
Stop.
Stop.
It's kind of embarrassing to talk about, but it's actually really common. And people have this happen to them all the time. And there's an explanation for it. Okay, so I'm going to get into that so you can feel a little less cuckoo, okay? Because it can manifest into obsessive. It can seem a little bit crazy. You may just feel a little bit off your rocker after a while if this is something that you're finding yourself involved in. This next clip I want to show you straight from a creator who does have a large following, who does talk about pretty emotional, personal topics. And hear straight from him, his experience with exactly what I'm talking about. And in this clip, he doesn't use the word limerence, but he describes exactly what I'm talking about. This is the creator and influencer Stefan Speaks. He is a motivational speaker, influencer, and relationship life coach. And this is when he was on Women of Impact with host Lyssa. She, as you might know, she's one of my favorites. I feature her show a lot, so check it out.
I feel the need to say this may sound bad, but I'm gonna be very transparent right now.
Yeah.
There have been women who have reached out to me personally, who watch my, videos and they're on my social media, and they'll say, I feel a connection to you. And I have to explain to them, like, no, what you're feeling drawn to me by this information that resonates with you. You're feeling drawn to me because the way I speak it's very personal. You're feeling drawn to me because maybe I'm touching on points that are happening right now in your life. But connection is a two-way experience. And you can't say I have this connection with someone and we've never even talked. You may feel drawn to that person. That's fair. You could say that. You may have a great desire for them. You may admire them. But to say you have a connection, it's something that you're going to experience once we sit down, talk. And again, you have to be honest with yourself. Is it connection you're feeling or infatuation? Is it that I'm so in love with the perception of this man I have rather than the reality of this man?
It feels strong, it feels real, it feels powerful. But the key part of it is there's no substance to this relationship that is two ways, to this connection that warrant those feelings. There's no evidence, there's no action, behavior that should lead you to be feeling that way. So that is when you know it's limerence. Now, another scenario of limerence could be that you were maybe in a very terrible relationship. Maybe you were in a relationship where at the end they were treating you so bad, they've been treating you so badly for so long that there's nothing happy about it. You've been mistreated, you've been crying every day. You're not enjoying yourself, you haven't been happy, it's terrible. But you're still finding yourself after you finally leave that relationship. You're still finding yourself in a depression, grieving that person. You're still missing them. You still feel so in love with them. You still feel so attached to them. You still feel like you want them. You're longing for them. And maybe at one time, you maybe were in love with them. But for such a long time, they have given you absolutely nothing that is worth loving. They have given you nothing that anyone would say is lovable. But you still feel so attached and so in love with them. Why?
Why?
And that is probably because what you're feeling is actually limerence. Amongst the therapists that have private practice that I've seen speak on this topic, it's widely agreed upon that this is very common. They see it all the time, come across their office, come across with their patients. So don't be ashamed of yourself. It's okay. We are part of a society that really looks down upon people that want something too much or express a desire for something strongly, especially if that desire, that person that they're desiring or the position that they're desiring is not reciprocal of that. There's a shame upon that. It makes us feel insecure. So, whatever. I've definitely done this, and there actually is a very clear path to correcting it and to resolving the root reason that it happens. So, if this is an experience that you have often or even that you've had once in a while, this is a golden nugget, guys, okay? Because this is a tried and true method to get rid of this very destructive behavior that you might be engaging in and just completely give you a better result in relationships, have you understanding the difference between infatuation and love and why you conflate the two. Limerence is when you are attaching to a fantasy overall, because you're not in love with your ex who treated you like crap because of the way they treated you like crap. You're not sitting there going,
I miss the way that they used to call me names, and I miss the way they neglected me constantly. I really miss the way that they deprioritized me, never valued me. I really miss the way that they invalidated all my feelings, and I just miss the way they talked to me so rudely. I really miss that person.
no, of course not. But that's how they treated you. So it doesn't seem to make sense, right? But it's because you're missing and you are attaching and you are in love with the fantasy. All right. And it's the same for when you feel limerence with someone that you don't actually know. Maybe you only knew them for a short time and now you're grieving this breakup or them ghosting you so strongly, and it doesn't make any sense because you barely knew them, but it's because you are attaching and missing the fantasy of them. And they're not that. But your brain doesn't know the difference because your brain thinks that they are that. So you believe very strongly, very real, that you are in love and attached to them, that person. So you could have been in a relationship with them for many years and you feel so attached to them. You're not attached to them because why would you be attached to abusive behavior? Why would you be attached to mistreatment? You're not. You have an unmet need and you're so yearning for that. So when you can't get that need met in real life, when you don't have anyone in your life that provides that for you, in reality, who actually is there for you, who actually gives you those things, and you don't actually give those things to yourself either, in reality, your brain is going to fulfill the need in a different way. It's going to fantasize and drum up someone who presents that need. Why would a fearful avoidant be so prone to limerence? Fearful avoidants have been experiencing a version of limerence usually their entire lives. And they had to do so to fulfill the love need and attachment need that they had as children, usually. So if it stemmed out of childhood, because we know fearful avoidant attachment style can stem from your childhood experiences, or it can be after some adult relationships that were particularly impactful on you. If it stems from your childhood, most fearful avoidants, they have a chaotic background. They might have caregivers that they feel limerence for. The fact of the matter is, people's parents and caregivers, they are just people. Some people aren't so great. People are just people. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you're a good one. And a lot of people have some pretty questionable parents that weren't there for them, that treated them badly, very badly some. Does that mean that your need for attachment and that very foundational bond that you need with your caregiver goes away? No, you need it. You need it. That's why people that have been adopted or grew up in foster care or were just abandoned, that's why they tend to have a wound there that's so big, because that's such a need. They feel so lost. But they will get that need met. It might not be a healthy way, hence limerence, but they still need it. So what will happen is they will find some way to attach and feel love and fulfill that, and it may be in a fantasy way. They're still going to love their parent or their caregiver, you will notice. Even children that have been massively and violently and just horrifically abused, they will still, shockingly enough, to some of us maybe, love their parent. They'll still love them. And this is not to devalue the love that a child that was abused feels towards their parent. It's not to say that they don't deserve to feel loved and that that's not real love. It's the only love option that they were given. But that initial caregiver love is very mirroring of limerence. It's an attachment to a love that's not very healthy, that doesn't really serve them well. It doesn't make them feel good. It causes misconceptions about love and what that looks like, which is exactly why they tend to grow up and become limerent with other people in their lives that don't fulfill what a real healthy love should look like, and things that you should be attracted to, and ways that you should seek to get your needs met and know that they're being met. When they can't find that, they will usually repeat what they did in childhood, the coping mechanism that feels familiar, that is just automatic now in them, and they will attach to a fantasy. Something that's all talk, no walk. Someone that doesn't actually behave in the ways that their words indicated they would. Someone that doesn't treat them right. Someone that hurts them. They will still feel this strong, passionate love and attachment for them, even if they maybe don't know them, and even if they treat them badly. it is very reminiscent of their past with their caregivers. Another reason is fearful avoidance. They're often in this cycle of, I want love so bad. I want that connection. I long for it. I yearn for it. But I also push it away when I get it. Or I don't trust it when I get it. I fear it. I think people are going to betray me. I don't like to be in situations where I'm vulnerable to someone else. I don't like to trust people because every time I've put my trust in people, they've always broken my heart. And so they're in this constant cycle, usually throughout life, of being on that high of being so in love, and then it crashing down, breaking their heart. So they are often very unsatisfied after their relationships. They're often having a lot of regret, a lot of resentment that is living inside of them, and they're having to overcome before they can get into their next relationship. So oftentimes that doesn't take away their longing, though. It doesn't take away their yearning to have a real love, a healthy love, something that feels right. They want that so bad. So it's just difficult for them, because even with all this track record of love being actually very harmful to them, they can't ever just get rid of that urge deep down inside of them of wanting it. So they are going to be very prone to limerence, because when you're yearning for something, it's just like, I've made the analogy before. When you're dying of thirst in a desert, if someone comes along with water, you're going to be less likely to question that water. You're going to be less likely to pick apart all the things that might be wrong with that water and evaluate it before you drink it. You're probably going to drink it because it's water and you need it and you've been waiting so long for it. I'm dying of thirst. Give me that water. It's probably good enough. If this is the best water I've ever seen. You're going to make it out to be what you want it to be because you're dying of thirst. So you're going to get yourself into situations more frequently that are not good for you. Same thing, like people say, like, don't go to the grocery store hungry, okay? Because you're going to come home with all this crap that you don't really actually need and that you don't really have any business eating. It's not going to be what's healthy for you. You're just so hungry. So you're going to take anything that you see that looks good at the moment because you're starving, okay? So it's the same type of thing in dating and in relationships. When you have this strong yearning and this need that's going unfulfilled, you have disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. People just keep letting you down. You constantly have this yearning that's just never being filled. This hole inside of you. I need. And then you never get it. So to summarize limerence and make it more concise, the main components of limerence are: 1, the feelings are in excess. They're going to be above and beyond what would be expected in the scenario that is being applied to and to the person it's being applied to. 2, it involves a fantasy version of someone. You're not in love with how they actually are. You feel in love with a fantasy version of them because it's not what they're actually providing to your life, whether it's because you don't actually know the person, you don't actually know them well enough, or they haven't given you enough of a reason to be feeling this way. So clearly you are attaching to and falling in love with a fantasy version of them. One other scenario, you've been with this person maybe for a long time, maybe you thought you knew them, but for a significant period of time now, they have not been treating you well. They don't treat you nicely. They treat you a majority of the time in ways that you do not enjoy it. It actually hurt you very badly, and you are no longer with this person, yet you still have this attachment to them. You still feel so in love with them, even though they may have abused, harmed, mistreated you significantly. Or you consistently return to a partner that does this to you routinely. You consistently go back together with them. You can't seem to break free of them, and you're so in love with them, it's more than likely limerence. And then the third component is going to be that this person presents some type of trait or some type of quality or showed you something that you were very much in need of, 1, and that you have gone without, that you have a longing for, that you are missing. You don't get it from anyone that's currently in your life in reality, but you need it, and you don't often give it to yourself. So for example, something like this could be you were drawn to this person because they made you feel heard. They listened to you. When you talked, they acted like everything that you said was just so fascinating. They wanted to hear about all the knowledge that you had, and they wanted you to tell them more, and they wanted to hear all of your stories, and they just let you talk, and they were really engaged, and they asked questions, and they just made you feel so seen, and like what you had to say was so important. And maybe that's something that you have felt throughout your life people have not done for you. People that have been close to you have not listened, have not taken an interest in what you had to say, had not valued your knowledge, things like that. So if this person does that when you first meet, you might feel limerence towards them. You might feel like you're in love with them, but you're really just attaching to that trait that you're so in need of. And then on the flip side, the other reason might be, if you think about it, you might doubt a lot of the things that you have to say. You might not think what you have to say is very important. You might doubt yourself a lot. You might shy away from speaking out when you have an opinion on something. And you notice that you don't even give yourself that acknowledgement. So that's why when this person does it, it's so enticing to you. You feel in such dire need to hold on to that person because they're giving that to you. The additional part to that is that it also can be that they bring out qualities in you that are pushed down, that you actually really want to express, but you don't feel like you can normally. You don't feel comfortable enough, or you don't feel confident enough to do so normally. But with this person, they somehow inspire you to be that way. So maybe you've always wanted to, like using the last example, maybe you've always wanted to be a very outspoken person. Maybe you've always wanted to have the bravery to maybe give speeches in front of large audiences, or you've wanted to be the more extroverted person who isn't afraid to say their opinion, even if it differs from other people's, or just assert themselves. And then when you're with this person, they're kind of just like, say how you feel, bringing you out of your shell. And they just encourage you and they make you feel comfortable because they're rooting you on, and you feel so confident when you're around them, and you start to be able to be this confident person that you've always wanted to be when you're around them. And so then you attach that quality that they're bringing out in you to them, and then you think that you can only be that way if you have them, instead of realizing that that's something that you have just not learned how to do for yourself, and you could now do this without this person. You don't need them to make you confident. You can just learn from this experience and take that in and start doing that on your own. And if you were able to do that, you wouldn't attach so strongly to this person. But since you don't feel empowered in that way, and you love that trait in yourself, you love how that makes you feel, that's going to be a powerful emotion that's going to come out of you, and it's going to feel like it's only connected to this individual. And very often that can be mistaken for connection, fate, chemistry, destiny, a soulmate. You might just think, wow, this person makes me into the person that I've always wanted to be, so they must be the person for me. I have to be with them. I love them. But you don't actually know them. All you know is that they make you feel more confident. So you mistake the way that they facilitate in that moment, you being the person you've always wanted to be, you mistake that for love, for loving them, when that's not really anything about who they are. That's a lot more about something in you that has been suppressed. The fourth main component about limerence, and a way that you can really decipher the difference between love and limerence, is that limerence is going to be very focused around how they make you feel. It's going to be very dependent on this thing that you need from them. It's going to center around the reciprocation that you're longing to get back from them. The fantasy, if it's someone that you don't even know, it's going to be like that fantasy of like how they would love you, how they would be for you. And if it's someone that you were with, then it's longing for their presence, longing for them to be around you, in the essence of them giving you the things that you imagine that they're going to give to you if they were around you, which in most cases they wouldn't be that way if they were around you anyway, because they're usually not matching the fantasy. And then love, the difference is love is about how you feel about them. You don't just love someone because of what they reciprocate to you. You love someone because of who they are. So love is a very dynamic beast, but limerence is going to be something where you're longing for them to give you something, to fulfill something in you. That can be a part of love. You should be receiving something good out of love. Of course, it should be a give and take, but it's not going to be centered around just longing for them to fulfill something in you. It's like you're trying to fill a hole. You're trying to fill a deficit when you're in limerence. When you're in love, it's a lot less self-serving. It's a lot more about wanting to give to that person, wanting to make that person's life better. So you can, if you're honest with yourself, probably very easily tell this difference. I'm going to take you down a journey of my love life, which I now probably should be referring to as my limerence life because that's what it's turning out to look like. So I have probably thought I was in love a few times throughout life, and not just a very small handful of times. And now I sometimes I have questioned a lot in the last year and a half or so, if I've actually ever loved, if I've actually ever been in real love. And it doesn't mean that I don't have the capacity to love, and I acknowledge that, and you should too, if this is your situation. It doesn't mean that I don't love people for real. It's that love is a two-way street, and you cannot be in love with someone who's giving you nothing. If you look back on your people that you've loved, ask yourself, do you really love who they are? Do you really love them? Do you love who they are? Do you want the best for them? Do you hope their life is great? Did you love them because you just wanted to better them? Or do you love them and long for them and obsess over them and have them fill your thoughts and things like that because of something that you're missing that they provided to you, that you don't do very well providing for yourself, or that you find hard to find in other people? or you imagine that they provided that. I want to take away the stigma of admitting something like this, because I feel like there's such a negativity that carries with that, with admitting something like that. It's like, you're not in real love. You just obsess over people so you can get something out of them. It doesn't mean you're not giving either. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't love for them to also have these feelings towards you and for it to be able to be love. So there's nothing shameful about this. It's not, you can't help it that some people don't reciprocate your feelings. But I think people have a fantasy of what love is, and what they're actually more often describing is limerence. Love is not a fairy tale. Love is not just a fleeting feeling that you can't control, that's just eating you up inside, that's so just over the top emotion that you're obsessive over it. You can't eat, you can't sleep. That's limerence. That's limerence. And we've all been led to believe by media and TV and movies and Disney that it is love. That's not love. Love is a commitment. Love is intentional, and you feed into it. You pour into it. You invest in it. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always serve you and your inner needs all the time. It's about giving to someone else. It's about making a conscious choice every day to be,
I am committed to this person because I know they're a good person and I love them. And it doesn't matter if today they can't give something to me or be there for my beck and call and be fitting to my every need. I love them. I've made a choice to love them. So I am going to remain in love with them and stay in this commitment with them. And they also do the same for me.
That's love. That's being in love with someone. Okay? So when I look back at my life, I don't know that I've ever been in love with someone. I think that there's one time that I was. And it wasn't for our entire relationship, but I think that at one time, I'd like to believe that we were in love. I definitely felt love for him. But other times, I've been definitely in limerence and thought it was love. So I want to describe some of those. I've had 2 serious relationships in my adult life. Okay, so my first one was 12 years off and on. And I had my second child with that person. And so that person, I probably would have said a lot of times while I was with that person that I was head over heels in love, that they were the love of my life, that they were my soulmate, that I had to be with them. And I was very obsessive with it at times and just out of my mind. Absolutely. And had no business calling that love at almost any part of it. And it wasn't. I was wrong. I was in limerence with them the entire time. And the need that I ascribed to them, this isn't really necessarily in line with qualities that they presented at all, because they actually didn't present these qualities. But I wanted these things so badly that I latched on to a body, a person that I hoped and decided was the person who could give that to me. And I wanted him to become that. And he never quite did. I was going through a time where I wanted the family structure. I had already had a child with this person, and I wanted to have a family unit. I wanted my family to be together. I wanted to represent that I could be a part of a commitment, and that it could be a long-lasting love, that I could keep a man. There's so much pressure on women and men probably too, but like that, I just know from my perspective as a woman that there's a lot of pressure to keep a man. People will judge women that have a child and then don't stay with the man. They will judge the woman and be like,
Wow, she just can't keep a man around. She can't keep her man.
and it's stupid.
Stupid.
Because it's on 2 people. If someone leaves you, or someone cheats on you, or someone lies to you, or someone abuses you, that's obviously not your fault. And you didn't see that coming. I had to get wiser and grow to understand that I shouldn't be carrying around that guilt, and that's not my full responsibility to keep a man. Like, how dumb. At the time, he represented the hope I had for a family structure and for that life that I thought I could have and the corrections I wanted to make with my past. So I continuously thought I was so in love with him that I felt I should forgive anything he did all the time. I thought that was going to earn me some kind of loyalty points eventually. If I was that forgiving and that loving to somebody, that they would have to love me in return, right? He would have to make an improvement. He would notice this. He would be just oh so grateful that I could just, love someone like him who was being so terrible to me and doing these horrific things that most people would not. This is so dumb, and I'm being so vulnerable right now, please. I really used to think like this. I used to think,
There's not a lot of women like me that would ever put up with these things. I have such a beautiful, loving heart that could actually overcome and still love someone after these things, these terrible things that he did.
It was so low vibrational. It showed so clearly how little I thought of myself. So blatantly. And it was like I saw such an opportunity of someone with such terrible behavior that I was in my mind, and I didn't put this all together at the time, but it was like, no one would want that. No one would want that. Who's going to take that? Because he cheated and he was abusive and he hurt me and he did all these terrible things that no one would put up with. No one would want that. And I thought in my head, what a great opportunity for me to accept that. Me to be that angel of a woman that could forgive that. Because what would that do for me? That would guarantee that someone would love me. That would guarantee. No one else is going to put up with that. And it's not like I really took pride in it, because I hated it. I was getting hurt. I was getting violently assaulted. Everything was terrible about it. In my mind, though, the way that I coped with that, because your mind does gymnastics when you're being abused. You have to find a way for it to be okay when you're in it, because you have to survive it. And you have to get strong enough to be able to leave it. And so it's a journey. It's a process. People, on average, they don't leave for good from an abusive situation an average of 7 times. 7 times, okay? That's an average. That's an average surveyed amongst a widespread number of abuse victims. 7. 7 is the average amount of times it takes an abused person to leave their abuser. Okay? So I think we can safely assess from those numbers that it is very difficult to do. Okay? And I've already long since patted myself on the back for that one, okay? And I'm very proud that I left that situation, even though there's been times that people wanted to look down upon me, and people will. They will look down upon you and say things that make you feel really lame. They will say things like,
I would have never put up with that. I would have been out the first time. I don't know how you dealt with that. Must be something you got out of it that made you keep coming back.
Oh my God!
I'm very glad that there's a lot of studies out now and a lot of statistics that help to provide the education on that matter, that it's very hard to judge something like that until you're in it. And so I've evaluated why someone would say something like that. Like,
You must get something out of it for why you just keep running back there.
and I've thought about that a lot over the years. And they're not wrong.
What?
They're not wrong because of limerence. They're not wrong because of limerence. And what they're missing is that you're getting something out of it that is very unhealthy. Very unhealthy. And that's why you think you need it. That's why you think you need the abuser. You think you need the abuser because you are stuck in limerence with them. You think it's love because you don't believe deep down that you deserve real love. You don't know how to get it. You will settle for people who abuse you and even convince yourself. It'll turn your mind around and somersaults to help you cope in that situation so that you can really believe that when someone harms you and treats you like crap, that's an ample opportunity for you to get love. When you don't believe in yourself and you have low self-esteem and you don't think that people are going to love you or want you, you think you have to do a lot to get love. It's all about self-worth, self-confidence, and self-love. You don't love yourself, but you don't know this for so long. You don't know it. Every time that it happened, I just kept thinking, maybe this time if I forgive him, maybe this time he'll learn. And then, I always wanted real love. I always wanted it to get better. You don't go back because you want the abuse again. You go back in hopes that it will stop. And just in case you are in that situation right now, I want you to know it won't stop. It will not stop. If you stay, it's not going to stop. The only thing this gets is worse. And people like to say, well, you're stupid after a few times that happened and it didn't stop. Okay, well, you can call it stupid, but I guess you're calling a very large portion of people who end up in these same situations stupid. And lucky you that you didn't have those circumstances and that you didn't come into those different situations and that you didn't end up stupid. But I noticed that those types of judgments tend to come from people that have never been in that situation. And so as someone who has been that girl, I've been her. I've been there. I've done that. So as someone who has been that girl, and now as someone, a woman who would never, ever, ever put up with something like that for a second. That would never happen to me again. I would never. The physical abuse, the cheating, never. As that person now, I can tell you, if I'm talking to young women, younger men that are in those types of situations and behaving that way, I'm here to tell you right now, you're not stupid. You are not stupid. You just haven't found your self-worth yet. You don't understand the connection. You're not seeing it. You think you're in love, but you're in limerence. Because you have a need deep inside of you that you're trying to fulfill through this person who can't fill it. They can't do it. Always remember that any type of abuse is a serious and potentially life-threatening matter. If you need support, please see the description on this video for resources that can help you. You are not alone and you deserve better. I got out of that. And then this next one that I want to highlight, I actually hate that I even have to give this one a highlight, but it's just the best example of it. And I'm embarrassed about this one. I still really am. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to. In between my first serious relationship and then the serious relationship I had most recently, I had about a 6-year gap. So I did a long time of healing, growing, being by myself. Throughout that time, there were periods that I did date, and I thought, I would love to have a relationship again. That might be nice. Maybe I'm ready to try again. And I felt like I had healed a lot of things. I thought I was ready. And I quickly found out after this particular situation that I was not ready. Because I found myself back in a state of longing. And that's what had drawn me to date again. And I was longing for attention and someone to be affectionate towards me. Someone to love me. I really wanted to be loved. I really wanted someone to spend time with, someone to want to be around me and want all of me, want to hear me, want to see me. It was in like 2017 or something, somewhere around there. And where do you go? Where do you go to date? You go online. And so I got on the apps. Oh, that was a terrible experience that I will never experience again. Thank God. I will never do it. I refuse. It's terrible. It's a terrible place to be. I don't like it there. And no offense to anyone who has met the love of their life on the apps. It was not for me. I hated it. It was so upset. It was so upsetting. It was the worst experience ever. But anyways, I was on there for about 3 months. And during that time, I met this person. He was a very attractive person. He was quite gorgeous. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He was very attractive. And he was doing exactly what I just described I needed. I needed attention and affection and someone to be fully into me and want to spend all their time with me and be just all about me. And he did that. He did that for a good 3 or so weeks. And I just thought it was love. So, and I thought I did for the moment. I was delusional. Deep down, I knew that I didn't. I was trying to create something that wasn't there because it can't be there. It's impossible. But I wanted it to be that. I've always been a relationship person. I want the commitment. I'm a very introverted person. I like long-term relationships. I like commitment. I like monogamy, obviously. I enjoy focusing in all my efforts and all my attentions into one person. It's not about quantity at all for me. It's definitely about quality. And so being single sometimes has been hard for me for a lot of reasons, but now it's a lot better. But at that time, it's like, I don't want to do all the beginning phases where it's awkward, and I want to skip all that and be in love. So slowly his communication started to dwindle down with me. He wasn't responding as quickly to text messages. He all of a sudden was very busy. He didn't have as much time to hang out. And I was like, what the hell? And then the worst thing ever, most embarrassing thing ever happened. And he ghosted me. He ghosted me, guys. He ghosted me. This person ghosted me. I couldn't accept that. I hated it. And so I went into this period of time where I thought I was like heartbroken over this person.
Brother.
I felt like I was just ripped apart. I went through like a grieving period of like, and I was definitely in a state of limerence. I would think about it all the time. It would consume all my thought. I knew in my logical mind that that made no sense. I'd only known this person for like a month. Why was I so obsessed over this? Why was I so hurt over it? It's like, wow. It was so ridiculous. So the thing with those types of limerence, I mean, at least for me, they don't last very long. So it didn't last very long. I was over it within a matter of weeks. But situations with long-term relationships, my two big relationships, those took me years. So it's a pretty big difference there that I could tell within myself when this one was just so fleeting and obviously not based in reality. So I was just grieving the thing that I thought he was able to give me. And the really like bright spot about that story is that I got the last laugh because eventually, many months later, he popped back up and he tried it. He certainly tried it. He tried to get back in contact with me. And of course, I told him to get lost and I had no time for him. I did not want anything to do with him. And then, you know what was really gross about it? I found out not too long later, I saw something on, I think, Instagram. I saw something, he like popped up or something, and I was just kind of curious, and I looked, and he had a baby. What? And I did the math, and I think the reason he ghosted me, if I was doing my math right, was because he got this other person pregnant. The way the timeline added up, he had definitely been with this person while we were seeing each other for that month, and this person would have gotten pregnant right around that time. But it was really interesting because I saw, also based on the timeline, that when he had reached out to me again, trying to like come back after the ghosting a few months or something before, I looked and he was absolutely with this person. Like they were together. They're like a little family. And so he was trying to cheat on this person with me. So as embarrassing as that situation is, I definitely learned from that. After that, I had much more discernment with people. I definitely never had another case of that type of limerence. I never just became so obsessed over someone for nothing that I knew about them. I just latched on to something that I thought that they were going to fulfill for me because I was so depleted of it in myself. And I proved that to myself because I didn't date right away right after that, but a while later, I did date a few other people. And very easily, I proved to myself that I had that discernment at that point because I wasn't just looking for in them what they could fill like as a void I had. I didn't have a void anymore. I wasn't dating with a void anymore. Whoa! I started really healing. I started working on my goals. And I completed one of my biggest goals as an adult that I had had. I live in a city that has a very high cost of living. It's really hard, just as a single person, to live on your own out here. And I had a child at 15. So I set myself even further back behind the ability to do so. And so I spent a portion of my early adult life just trying to catch up with everybody else that was my age and doing so with a young child. For a while, I wasn't able to live by myself. I grew from that. And so I then achieved one of my first big goals, which was to live on my own, fully 100% on my own. I started realizing I need to love me. I need to care about me. I can stop getting my heart broken by people who aren't loving me by loving me. I can just love me. And I just stopped thinking about men. And I stopped thinking about dating. And I started thinking about what was best for me. And I started becoming the person I was supposed to be. And so I changed fields. And that's when I moved into the behavioral health field, where I started learning a lot about human behavior. And I started working with children, usually children with autism and ADHD and things like that. And it was a beautiful career that I started. I loved it. I loved it so much. I worked with so many clients and I learned so much about how human behavior is inspired and how it works. That really helped me. It tied in very well with the mental health study that I had already done and everything like that. So I want to help people with the knowledge that I've gained. I got into my first role of doing that and it was great. And I had my own apartment. I achieved it. I was so proud of myself. I lived all by myself. I was the only adult. I did it. It was me. I did everything. It was mine. And I was just on top of the world. I didn't need anything. I was so content. No one was in my life to stress me out, to lie to me, to make me have to wonder if they love me and if they're going to be there for me. And none of that was going on. No one was there to bring me down. I didn't have to worry if I was being cheated on. I didn't lose sleep over someone that I was obsessing over that didn't reciprocate it. I was so free. I was living my life for myself and my children, and I was going freaking fantastic. And I was so proud of myself. And I was just, for the first time in my entire life, I was good. I was just good. I was so content. I wasn't dreaming about a future that could be better. I wasn't in deep depression over anything. I had fought all those demons. They were gone. I was so good. Everything was so good. It was such a good time in my life. And the only thing that I was missing, that I had still not experienced, was true love.
No! God! God, please, no! No! No!
And I knew that I still wanted that someday.
No!
But I came to a position and a time period where I was like, well, maybe that's just not the way it's going to be for me. And I don't know if it'll ever happen. But right now, I'm completely done with wanting it or pursuing it. And I threw in the towel and I said, goodbye now to dating. And I stopped thinking about it, trying to facilitate it, looking for it. It did not occupy my mind whatsoever anymore. And I just lived my life for me. And I was good. And then, and then, my final relationship. So remember how I said that there is one person that I know I have been in love with, not just limerence, and that's going to be this one. My parents still lived about 20 minutes driving time from where my apartment was located. And so I would be over at my parents' house frequently. And one evening, my mom was telling me about someone that worked with her, this man that was very great. She was just singing his praises, saying how charismatic he was, how hilarious, very outgoing, very outspoken, very ambitious. He was a manager of the company that they worked for. He didn't work in her location, but for whatever reason, they were in a time of training of some sort, and he was either at her location or she was spending time at his location, and that is how they met. And for whatever reason, my mom, she shares a lot of things. My mom, it's funny. She just shares whatever she wants to share. And she was talking about me, and she was showing my photos to this man at work and saying how she thought that he would be a great fit for her daughter, unbeknownst to me. And she was just telling him all about my life. And she actually divulged a lot of information. When she told it to me, I was actually quite horrified. I was like, Mother, why? Why would you do that? She said,
I've told him about how you weren't treated right in the past and you need a good man and you need to be treated with respect, and that if he wants to have a chance, he's got to treat you right.
And I was like, Mother. Oh my God. And she's like,
he said that I can give you his number and you can text him and then maybe you guys will hit it off.
and I was like,
I think if you said all that, I think this man is being polite, and he's probably thinking that you're crazy. And he's probably like, please don't have this woman text me.
and she just kept saying, she's like,
No, he saw your pictures. He looked at your photos and he was like, yes, have her text me. He was very certain about it.
and I was just blowing it off completely. And I was like,
Does he know I have 2 kids?
and she's like,
Yeah, he knows you have 2 kids. He said that's great. He loves kids.
I was like,
No.
I was just so disgusted with it. I was like,
Like, why'd you do that? Don't do that. Don't talk about me to random people.
and she was like,
Okay, but he's a really great guy. You should give him a try. He's single.
da da da. And so I ignored it and I moved on. Okay. The next time I saw her, or the next couple times, she just continued to bring it up. She's like,
You should really give him a shot. Just go on one date with him. Just go on one date. And if you don't like him, then you don't have to go on another date with him. But just give him a try. I think he's a great, I just feel like he's a great person for you. I feel like it's going to be somebody that you will really like. He knows he's got to treat you right.
I'm just like,
I don't want a guy to treat me right now. I just don't want it. I don't want to do it.
I just wasn't interested in dating again at the moment. And I thought it was a crazy way to match two people up. My mother had never done this before. Never, never, never. She had never tried to hook me up with someone or suggest someone for me. This has never happened in all of my 31, 32 years at the time. Never. So it was just like very odd. I was like, okay, maybe this is something I should pay attention to. I don't know. After she kept bringing it up, I started to think about it and I was like,
All right, like, just whatever. Fine. Just tell him he can text me.
and so she was like just ecstatic. So I guess maybe she contacted him and told him my number. I don't know what exactly happened because I didn't reach out first. He did. So I think she must have contacted him right after that and told him my number because within a day or so, I received my first message from him.
Hi, I'm so-and-so, and your mom thought that we would get along.
Something like that. This is a very innocent message. And so the reason that I say that this one was different, that this was not the limerence that I had been in before, was because for the next 2 months, you know, we took everything a lot more slowly. I took my time with this. I did. It wasn't something that I was longing for or needing or hoping for initially. It was just something that was brought upon me. It came into my life when I didn't ask for it. And so it was definitely not the same as the situations I had been in before. And even though I pushed it away at first mention, we texted each other pretty regularly over the next few months without ever meeting. And it felt nice. I had a little bit of the butterflies sometimes. Like I started to look forward to his texts, but it felt friendship. It felt like a friendship. It felt very calm. It felt very peaceful and safe. It didn't feel like anxiety, all of that. And so I wasn't fearful of it. I wasn't obsessive. I wasn't in limerence. We didn't go on our first date for almost, I think, two or more months at least. And then we finally had a first date. And then at that point, it started to kind of kick off and move a little more quickly. And I did feel a lot of the butterflies at that point. But after having those 2 months of kind of building a foundation and a friendship, it felt like that was the natural next step. When we met and the connection was there, and it was like go time. Yes, I feel this. And it was reciprocated. We both felt it. It seemed so on point. And for all that I knew, for the next at least 6 months-ish, we made it official pretty quickly. And we began a full-on relationship together. We spent a lot of time together. For the first time, I recognized what was missing from all my other relationships. And that was friendship. And that was safety. And it was just being treated like a human being, not like a commodity that serves a purpose for a man. It's like I was treated like a friend. This person wanted to spend time with me, not to be physical with me and use something out of me. This person wanted to spend time with me because they were my friend. We talked. This ended up being one of my regrets, and I've since learned a little bit better about this. But right from the beginning, he made me feel really comfortable. And I opened up to him. I actually, at that point, hadn't told more than maybe 1 or 2 people about some of the things that had happened to me in the past. I hadn't even really said them out loud to anyone, not even really myself. And I felt so safe with this person. And he would just say things like,
You can trust me.
and he would just ask me questions and just wait there for my answer and listen, I thought, without judgment, I thought. And I just divulged it all. I told him all about my most vulnerable things of my life. I reached such a peace with him. There were times when I would just look at him and be so grateful for the way he was treating me that I would be moved to tears of happiness. I was so elated to be treated right. I loved him. I absolutely believe that in those times I loved him, and I think it absolutely qualifies for love because I fully believed that at that time he loved me as well. I believed that. I now question, due to the massive switch up he made eventually, unfortunately, that he couldn't have loved me, truly, that I don't think that his love was true. I think that what was happening was love bombing. Love bombing doesn't always look like excessive and over the top doing things and giving gifts and things like that. Sometimes it just looks like somebody who is mirroring you and picking up on what will make you feel loved, what will make you feel seen, and becoming that picture perfect person in the beginning when no problems have arisen yet, when their insecurities have not been triggered yet. And they're able to be whatever you need them to be, even if those aren't the traits that they actually present long term. And so he did definitely love bomb me big time. And he was everything I had ever wanted, and things that I didn't even know I wanted, he was. For the first time, I didn't just love him because of what he was doing for me. I also loved him because I thought he was an honorable man. I was like, this is a good man. This is a great man. This man has integrity. This man is genuine. This man is authentic. He has purpose and he has a moral compass that he lives by. He has standards for himself. He treats people a certain way. He cares about others. There were things about him that I loved, like how he treated his mother, how he treated his sisters. I loved that. That's love, okay? When you love qualities about someone that have really nothing to do with you. And so for the first time, I definitely loved this man. I was in love with that man. Absolutely. And I believed that he was also in love with me. Eventually I did have what I think was limerence for him over time because, unfortunately, much to my surprise, when he did change up and start treating me differently, slowly becoming more manipulative and controlling and unkind and neglectful and emotionally abusive. It took me an entire 3 years to finally see that for what it was, what had actually happened, what was the reality of that relationship, and to accept that and to finally walk away from it. And throughout that 3 years, I think the part about it that has been so hard for me to get over and has been so hurtful to me is that up to the point of meeting him, I had made so much improvement in myself, so much improvement to my self-worth, my self-confidence. I was at the highest I'd ever been. And my mistake with him was not recognizing early enough that he was not what he portrayed in the beginning, and not just accepting that when I should have right away. And if I would have accepted it a lot sooner and gotten that out of my life, that relationship wouldn't have been able to do the damage that it did. And it did me a significant level of damage. It tore my self-esteem, my self-confidence down from that place I had reached that I worked so hard for years to get to. It tore it down to nearly below what it had even been before. I became very mentally ill. I became very depressed. It was affecting me physically. It affected my productivity. It affected everything about my life. I fell completely to pieces in that relationship. It destroyed me. And that hurt. That hurt that someone could come into my life uninvited and wreak such havoc on me like that. And it was hard for me to find my accountability in that situation because it was just so, it was so unfortunate. So unfortunate, because how great it would have been for that to just have been real. And I for a long time, I couldn't get over that. And I think I would be lying to say that I am all the way over that. I think that might hurt. That might be a wound in me for a lot of my life. It hurt a lot. But for so long in that relationship, after it had already gone bad, I couldn't leave him. I felt in love with him. I felt like I couldn't let go. And I think that this type of limerence, I think, is a little more, you gotta forgive yourself for this, because he was breadcrumbing me. He was manipulating me. He was doing things that would cause people to feel this way. And again, I don't know how much of that is intentional. I think a lot of it is subconscious and due to his own issues, but there were things that he did that were very malicious. Very malicious. He was cruel. He was very cruel to me in many ways, in many different scenarios. And so that's where the limerence comes in. So at that point, what I was in limerence with was who he showed me in the beginning. And going into that situation, I didn't know that. So I wasn't in limerence the whole time. I was in limerence once I was shown the picture perfect, everything that I wanted. And it seemed real, and I believed it was real, and I still to this day, I believe it was real for me. It was real for me. It was real love for me. So afterwards, though, I became limerent once that was just no longer really ever a part of everyday life anymore in our relationship. Once in a while, it would come back for a night at a time, but not much. It was mostly just all bad. He just treated me terribly. And my cognitive dissonance kicked in, and I just kept staying in love, in limerence with the good time that we had. That's how limerence took effect in that relationship. And then for nearly an entire year after we broke up, no one in my life has ever been so cold and evil towards me as this person was to me throughout our breakup. And the way he went about the breakup, I broke up with him, but the way he went about it afterwards when we were supposed to be maybe working it out and stuff like that, just the way he treated me throughout that time. I've never been so low in my life. I've never experienced such pain. It was just terrible. It was absolutely horrific. I hated it. And I still have after effects from that. And throughout that time, he was being terrible to me. But I still felt this yearning for him. I couldn't let him go. I couldn't let him go. Even though I had left him, it kind of turned into a standoff. It was like I didn't have enough, I guess, self-respect and bravery to completely let him go throughout that time. Because in the back of my mind, I was still holding on and hoping. But also I had enough self-respect to recognize that he needed to do the work and that I wasn't going to accept him treating me the way he had been. I wasn't going to be with him. He needed to do he needed to fix everything. And that's just a position you don't want to put yourself in. Don't wait around for somebody to fix something. And I didn't want to. So I wasn't doing everything I should have been. But I'm proud of myself for at least, I wouldn't accept just anything just to have him. I had at least a little bit more respect for myself in this situation to know that I wouldn't accept that relationship if it wasn't repaired. He just kept putting it off. He did the same thing he did the entire relationship. He just kept saying, we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it, and then just put it off. And I kept trying to express I couldn't stick around, I wasn't going to wait, I was done, and he was never going to do it. He was never going to do anything about it. And it got to the point where I knew that it was over. I knew that there was nothing he could do. Even if he were to stop treating me badly that moment, never do another thing, and then try to work his best efforts to make up for all the things that he did that broke my heart in pieces, that I still didn't think maybe that there was any way he could make up for it. And so once it reached that, it was just like, it's hopeless. I need to let this go. I now can say that I don't feel in love with him. I am over him. I'm over him as a person. I don't feel like it's a longing for him. I do just have lasting wounds from the way that relationship and that experience affected me that I'm still working on getting over. It's affected my life. It's changed my life in a negative manner. And that breeds in me a lot of resentment that I have not worked through all the way yet. So those are the 3 experiences of limerence that I can point out in my life that all are a little bit different, but they all are limerence. I think that limerence is a dangerous emotion. It's a dangerous place to operate from, and it gets you hurt. It gets you harmed. And it gets you stuck in this rut of always trying to continuously look for what you need to fulfill inside yourself through another person. And it's never going to happen. You can't feel it that way. You will not ever do it. So that brings us to the most important part of the video, which is me explaining to you how you do feel it, how you can fix this, how this won't happen to you anymore. And she is who I learned it from. And that is Thais Gibson, of course. Thais Gibson, who created Personal Development School. And if you've never checked her out, check her out. This woman changed my life. She changed my life. I don't know how I would have gotten through all of this without her. She taught me everything. You're going to want to check out her course on limerence and all of her courses. She has so many courses in there. It's so worth it. So check out Personal Development School and you will never be the same. Okay. And I'm not affiliated with their business. I'm not affiliated with them or her in any way. This is genuinely from my heart. I love her. She is great. So valuable. All right. So let's get down to business. The method for getting rid of this nasty little thing called limerence. Okay. Get it out of your life. Get it out. Stop confusing it for love. Okay. So the way we heal it, the way we combat it, is by attacking it at its roots. So we go into the root reasons for why it's happening, what it really is stemming from, okay? So we have 3 parts, A, B, and C. Starting with A. A is that limerence is rooted in deeply unmet needs within you. Things that you need that you're not getting from anyone else in your life in reality, or you're not giving to yourself. So you're going to ask yourself, what is that thing that I feel like without them I can't have? What is the thing about them that drew me in? What is that thing that I saw in them that I'm going,
I can't live without that. If I'm without them, I'm not going to have that in my life anymore. This thing. They're so this, and I don't have that. I need that.
what is that? So maybe, for example, your life is always really chaotic and really serious, and everything is really drama and very heavy. And maybe this person just lives a very carefree, relaxed, happy life. Maybe they make jokes out of things and they're just laughing it up and they're just having a good old time all the time. They really lighten the mood. They're very funny, effortlessly. Okay? And so that lightness that they bring to your life is what attracted you to them. You love that quality that you see in them. Okay? It's going to be things like that. And so if you figure out, okay, I liked that about this person, then turn it on yourself and say, okay, do I bring that to my life? How well do I provide that in my life? Do I bring myself comedic breaks? Do I provide enough lighthearted times for myself? And if the answer is no, that you often feed into the drama or you feel the pressure of everything being so heavy all the time and you kind of freak out about that and you don't give yourself enough of a break and you don't give yourself some laughs, you don't take things lightly, you let it all get to you, then that's definitely going to be one of them. That's going to be one of the things, okay? Then just kind of go through your list of things that make this person so appealing to you. That were things that when you are not with this person, when you can't get to them, you're longing for them. You're like, what are you longing for? What about them? If they were here, what would they be giving to you? What would you guys be doing? What would they be saying? What are you getting out of them that you just are dying for? And then turn it on yourself and say, okay, when do I provide that for myself? B, qualities inside of yourself that actually have always been inside of you, that maybe when no one's around, you've thought about or fantasized about expressing, or you see other people be this way and you're like, I want to do that, but you're some reason afraid or stifled or you hold that back. It'll be things like that that this person brings out of you. Who do you become when you are around this person or when you imagine being with this person? Like, for example, maybe when you're with this person, you feel really bold and you feel really assertive. You feel really outgoing. Maybe you're really shy normally. I'll just say, like, for example, I've always been very into music. I'm definitely a musically inclined person. I've always been a singer. I've sang since I was very little, but I've been nervous to sing in front of people. I always kind of fell short. It didn't go well when I would try to perform because of stage fright, just crippling stage fright. But I know I am a good singer. I have a nice singing voice. I know that. Now, as an adult, I realize that. And I think I always knew it, but I was just so worried, like,
What will people think? What if I mess up?
I was just like ruining myself. But I've been musically inclined in lots of ways. And I think that if I were in a different personality, a different life, where I wasn't so worried about what other people think of me, I probably would have been really that type of person that would just dance at parties or at events. Like I would just dance wherever I am. I dance all the time. I dance around my house. I dance in my room. But people wouldn't know that because I don't dance in front of other people. Like it's just like I can't. All of a sudden I'm like, I can't do it. It's so dumb. But with my ex, he made me feel so comfortable all the time that I felt comfortable to just sing in front of him. I felt comfortable to dance with him. He used to, we would be hanging out. This was like one of the best memories. When we would hang out, sometimes when it would get late, we would be listening to music. We both loved to listen to music sometimes. Listen to any music all night long. And sometimes he would get up and he would pull me up off the couch to dance with him. And I'd never done anything like that with anyone else in my life, ever. But he would just pull me up and dance, and I would just lean into it, and I would do it, and I would dance with him. And it felt so natural. I felt so comfortable to do that. And so I loved that. He makes me drop my guard. He makes me feel like I can be myself, and I'm not so worried that I'll mess up. And I'm just confident in myself. I know that he desires me, and that I feel like I have the qualities to, I felt like I was worth being desired. I felt good about myself. And that brought out such beautiful qualities in me when I was with him. It brought out every part of me that always has been there. It brought out the best things in me. I was confident to initiate affection with him. And that was another just like very sad part about how he treated me, because he began to knock all that down slowly. And by the end of that relationship, I was like a scared little mouse. I felt so much hesitation to even give him a hug, to even go around him. I would just be just crippled in fear. I just didn't want to risk it. I just was so afraid of doing something wrong at every turn. So afraid of starting a fight, an argument, or having him stonewall me, or just getting ridiculed. Sometimes complimenting him would get me verbally attacked. He just tore it all away. But in the beginning, he brought out all my best qualities, and I loved that, and that's what I was attached to. So think about things like that. And then the last part C, is about negative stories that we are telling ourselves that are part of our core self-limiting beliefs. And Thais Gibson talks about core self-limiting beliefs. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that we can have stored away in our subconscious that tell us what things that we believe in our subconscious about relationships, things that we believe about the world, many different things. Our core self-limiting beliefs are the ones that we say about ourselves. So it's the I am statements, okay? So I am defective. I am stupid. I am not enough. I am bad. I am unworthy. I am abandoned. I am unlovable. There's 21 of the most common ones that pretty much all self-limiting beliefs fall into one of the 21 for most people. And you will have a set of them, most likely, from your childhood that you're carrying along with you in your subconscious that you may not even know. And if you say them on the outside to your conscious mind, you would not recognize them. You would be like,
No, I am bad. No, I'm good.
However, if you examine your repetitive outcomes in things that were very important to you, that maybe ended in a way that you weren't intending, they ended in a way that you didn't try for, that's one way to know. And then also your triggers. Whatever's triggering you is usually stemming from a core self-limiting belief. Maybe, let's say that there's people that are telling some silly jokes, and it's kind of like in a make fun of somebody way. And you suddenly get enraged by their joke, even though it wasn't directed at you. And you're just like,
What is your problem? Shut up.
you're being rude to them. And you don't even know why you're mad at them. But it just triggers you. It's like it gets you really upset. So you start to examine it.
Why did I get upset?
Well, I didn't like that joke.
Okay. Why didn't you like that joke?
Because I feel like it was trying to intentionally make fun of someone instead of actually be funny. It seemed like it was to bully someone.
Okay, and what happens if someone's bullied? What does that mean?
Well, it means that people don't like them.
Okay. So what if these people are making jokes and they don't like certain people and that they're bullying these people? How does that affect you?
Well, if they would say those jokes about people, then they can say those jokes about me. It might apply to me.
What if those jokes that they're saying apply to you and they're bullying you secretly, covertly, and pretending it's a joke? So what? What does that mean about you?
It means that I am stupid. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you think that you are stupid. Your subconscious might think that, though, because that's how it's going to interpret it. But it means that you have a fear of being made to look stupid, maybe. Maybe you have a fear of humiliation. Maybe you have a fear of people disrespecting you. Maybe you have a fear of people pretending to be one thing and they're really not. So fears and beliefs, they kind of look the same to the subconscious. So if you have a fear about something, then you're believing it into your thoughts. Your thoughts are converting it into usually your words and your actions. And then those are the things that are shaping your reality. So you don't have to know that this is in there for it to be in there, because the subconscious operates outside of our conscious. And it operates 95% of our daily thoughts. That has been proven by neuroscience. Proven. That is a proven fact. So only 5% of your daily thoughts, the ones that you know you're having every day, all of them that you know you're having every day, is only 5% of what's actually taking place in your thoughts, okay? Only 5% of that is coming from your conscious mind. That's the ones you notice, okay? 95% are produced from your subconscious. So you don't even see those. You don't even know they're happening. They happened and you didn't even know it. But your world was affected by it. And it gets affected by them every single day. And do you know how quickly they also measured this? This is another really important number to help you understand this. You are sending signals constantly to everyone around you, to your environment around you. You're always sending signals. You know, like some people look at body language and stuff like that, but there's tons of little signals and energetic gestures and little things that you are sending that your subconscious mind can read and understand and interpret that you never even knew happened. All right? And the rate at which data is transferred in your conscious mind that you're actually picking up on and processing and going like,
Oh, I saw that. I saw that wave and that smile, so I pick up that that person likes me. But then why do I kind of feel a weird feeling that maybe they don't like me?
well, maybe it's because your subconscious picked up on a sigh that they did, a little sigh. Maybe in less than a rate that you could have even seen with your eyes. Maybe they actually cut their eyes at you when they first saw you, and then they smiled and waved as a reaction. And maybe you didn't even recognize that they did that, and they didn't even recognize that they did that in the conscious mind, but your subconscious read it. That's why you feel very uneasy. And you feel like,
There's something wrong here. This person, something feels off.
and you don't know why. And it's because your subconscious and their subconscious are talking, and they're not talking at the same rate that you're sending data with your conscious mind. Your conscious mind sends data at a rate of 40 to 60 bits per second. Okay, 40 to 60, okay? Bits of data per second, okay? Do you want to know how many are sent in the subconscious? 1 billion. That's right, B. 1 billion bits of data are transferred per second by your subconscious mind. Okay, that is nowhere near the same amount. That is a huge leap. That's so much different. Okay? So all the things that you think you're very perceptive, right? You're picking up a lot. You might be somebody that says like,
I notice a lot of things that happen in my environment. I'm very perceptive.
even that level of perception is still going to be nearer to the 60 bits per data area of that range, okay? At most, at best. Your subconscious does 1 billion. That's magnificent, okay? So there's a lot of things that are happening based on things that have been programmed deeply into your head. So a lot of it is based in things that don't serve you anymore, that you don't actually believe anymore, that you don't actually want to believe in, that aren't good for you, that could be sabotaging situations for you that you don't even know about, okay? So that's why getting to the bottom of your core self-limiting beliefs is very important. Before you move on to the second part of this episode, where I give you the ways to correct this, I want you to make sure that you go through A, B, and C, and you get those listed out for yourself, okay? So you have some homework. If you're watching this in real time, when it's first coming out, that episode's not out yet. So you have time to write those, okay? But then it's going to come out pretty soon, my next episode. And then just to make sure you're tuned in here with me, okay? Listen to me. If you watched this episode and you don't watch the next one, that doesn't make any sense. I need you there. Because I need you to not be limerent anymore, okay? No more limerence. Limerence is just...
Why?
Makes no sense. It's not fun for anyone. So I will see you there, bestie, okay? You promise? I'm gonna trust you. I know you'll be there. Thank you for being here today. I love you. You're so amazing. I'm so glad that you care about your personal development so much that you are tuning in and you are getting it all together. You are... I feel an energetic improvement already. I do. I feel it. I will see you next time.